read road signs? Yeah, you going on bonehead truckers. How you read road signs, dude? You can't speak English. This bonehead right here can't speak or read English, but he's out here on our roads. Illinois plates. Reliable trucking service, USDOT 1398281. He can't speak or read English. I asked him if parking enforcement came over here to talk to him. He can't tell me anything. So here's you another bonehead trucker out here that can't speak or read English. And he closed his car.
All right, y'all, welcome back to Politically Animated. Buckle up because this one is gonna make your head spin harder than an 1/8-wheeler hitting black ice. You ever wonder how in the world someone who can't read or speak English ends up driving a semi down I-95? Well, thank the Obama administration for that little gem of genius. You guys all know the story, but here is our perspective on this matter. See, under federal law, CDL drivers are supposed to speak English so they can read road signs, communicate with law enforcement, and, you know, not accidentally turn a rest stop into a demolition derby. But Obama's people. Nope, they said that was unfair, discriminatory, and decided to water down the requirement. Next thing you know, you've got folks behind the wheel of 40-ton rigs who don't know if a sign says stop or shop. And now, boom, Florida, tragic accident, families torn apart, and the guy responsible, an illegal immigrant truck driver who shouldn't even be in the country, let alone steering a vehicle that weighs more than a small house. But hey, when politicians care more about pandering than protecting, you get disasters like this. It's not a surprise. It's inevitable.
Truckers after an executive order is requiring them to pass English literacy tests.
A federal law requiring English proficiency for commercial drivers already existed. But according to President Trump, it had not been enforced in years. And he claims that made the roads less safe.
Trump signed an executive order in April saying truckers who can't speak or read English proficiently will be put out of service.
Imagine driving down the highway, sharing the road with an 80,000-pound semi-truck. Now imagine the person behind that wheel can't even read a stop sign, can't talk to police in an accident, and can't follow basic road instructions. Sounds terrifying, right? Well, that nightmare has been reality for years, thanks to weak enforcement and political pandering. But not anymore. ICE and state troopers are finally cracking down on truckers who can't speak English, revoking licenses, writing tickets, and even deporting those in the country illegally. This is one of the most important safety crackdowns America has seen in decades, and it's already changing the industry. Law has required commercial truck drivers to be able to read and speak English. This isn't some new idea, it's been on the books since the 1930s. But here's the shocking part. For decades, enforcement was almost non-existent. Under the Obama administration, penalties were loosened even further, creating a free-for-all that allowed thousands of non-English speaking drivers to flood the industry.
This mandate requiring all truck drivers to speak English has actually been on the books since the 1930s. Now, the president and CEO of the Alabama Trucking Association tells me that guidelines from the Obama administration loosened enforcement and lowered penalties. Now, this executive order brings back that original mandate.
Many of them were here illegally, some even using fraudulent documents to land jobs. President Trump's executive order flipped the script. He reinstated strict enforcement of the English language requirement, ordering agencies like ICE, Homeland Security, and state troopers to treat violations seriously. Within weeks of the policy shift, dozens of truckers lost their licenses for failing basic English tests. What should have been common sense all along was finally being enforced, restoring sanity to an industry where lives are literally on the line.
Let's break this down because it's insanity on steroids. Imagine you're on the highway, right? You're doing 65 music on, everything's smooth. Suddenly, here comes a semi swerving across 3 lanes. The driver didn't understand the lane closed ahead sign. You slam the brakes, your heart's in your throat, and you realize, oh wait, this guy was handed a license even though he couldn't pass a basic English test. Now, don't get me wrong, America is the land of opportunity. But driving in 1/8-wheeler is not a learn-on-the-job situation. This isn't flipping burgers. If you mess up with a Big Mac, someone's order gets cold. If you mess up with a big rig, entire families don't make it home. And here's the insult to injury. We've got hardworking Americans, veterans, citizens, people who followed the rules, trying to land trucking jobs to feed their families. Meanwhile, illegals are out here pulling in paychecks with fraudulent paperwork, and the government looks the other way. So not only are lives being put at risk, but citizens are being pushed out of opportunities by people who shouldn't even be competing for them. That's not immigration, that's insanity.
Let's know this incident happened on August 12th in Florida on the turnpike, where a truck driver who worked for the now known White Hawk Carriers, he made an illegal U-turn that took out 3 people. The driver, as we now know as Harjinger, Sai, right? But let me stop right there. Even though I'm pronouncing his name wrong, it really doesn't matter. But this isn't the same guy that took out the bridge a few years ago. Even though they got the same name, they're 2 different dudes. So hopefully we can pretty much kill that information that's going around on social media right now while everybody is saying, hey, that's the same dude that took out that iconic bridge in Virginia. Yeah, you could say, but 2 different guys, 2 different ages, 2 different times. But this one was able, when he made that illegal U-turn, right? He was able to leave. They let him go. This driver literally took out 3 people, like homicide. Okay, we're gonna investigate it and we're gonna get back at you at a later date, which they did. He went back to California. Guess what that dude was about to do? He was about to get ready to go.
Until
he was arrested for 3 counts of vehicular homicide. As of this recording, he's been extradited from California back to Florida to face those charges. So let's talk about the driver for a minute, right? Come to find out, he entered the U.S. illegally back in 2018. Somehow he obtained his California CDL out of California, of course. To my understanding, it's like all domicile and all this kind of weird stuff that I'm going to be honest with you that I'm not particularly up on, but I'm going to do my homework on domicile, non-domicile, stuff like that. I just know that if you are a citizen of the USA, legally, you can obtain a driver's license and or a CDL. But this guy in 2018 came across the border, managed to get his CDL, and this company, White Hawk, brought him on to drive for the last couple of years. To this day, how was he able to fly up under the radar? Your guess is as good as mine. See, after they arrested him, he did the proficiency test, which of course he flunked. He couldn't read the English, he couldn't tell the signs, and he definitely couldn't talk the English. He needed a translator to do the talking for him. And right now, that was some of the problems with foreign guys driving these streets, not knowing the signs. So is it possible that he could not know that that was an illegal U-turn? You just look at the area where he was trying to turn at. Like, could you really get a 18-wheeler through that narrow space? What if, let's say, if the driver didn't crash into him and that accident never happened, he still would have been stuck, right? Now, of course, Harjinger or whatever, however you pronounce his name, I'm sorry, they're gonna kick him out of the US after he serves his sentence.
And what's the response from the media? Nothing. Zip nada. If anything, they'll twist it and say, well, accidents happen. No, accidents happen when your tire blows out. Catastrophes happen when government policies deliberately put unqualified drivers behind the wheel of massive machinery. Let's be real, Driving a semi without knowing English is like being a pilot who can't read the cockpit instruments. Would you get on that flight? Nope. But millions of Americans are forced to share highways with truck drivers who literally cannot read the signs that say, "School zones" or "bridge." The bigger issue? Politicians don't ride those highways with us. They've got chauffeurs, security details, and private planes. So when they weaken the rules, it's our families that pay the price, not theirs. That's why these accidents keep happening. So here's the truth. If you can't understand the word stop, maybe you shouldn't be behind the wheel of a 40-ton rolling missile. But when the government values woke policies over working policies, common sense gets run over in the fast lane. And I'll say this, until politicians actually start prioritizing public safety over pandering, these accidents won't stop. They'll just keep piling up. Literally, stay safe out there, America, because if the DMV and DC won't protect you, all you've got left is prayer and defensive driving.